Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Sorry, it just a little bit of time to get on.
And same here. Oh, hi, Shae.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
welcome.
How are
Thank you. All good this end. I mean, I don't want to speak too soon, but no, everything's great. How are you both?
you? Well, thank you.
Awesome.
Really well. So, welcome to Parent Plug-in. And for those that are new to this platform, we are the Gifted, and we work with children and young people, helping to raise their self-esteem and build their confidence. And my name's Kemi. Over to
I know.
Nalini.
Oh, she's disappeared. And I'm Shae.
And share a little bit about yourself and your organisation.
Yes. So I run an organisation called CYG, which stands for Curate Your Genius. So it's got two arms. One is the academy and consultancy, and the other one is the one that runs all of the creative projects for young people, for creatives, for entrepreneurs, for all the people. The arm that does the consultancy, we go into companies and we kind of manage their creative sides for them. So we do training, we do community work, we do all the things. And yeah, just the reason I even met Nalini is because we're working on the same project together in Edmonton with young people. So it is phenomenal to be here, and thanks for having me.
Oh, so you're based in Edmonton, Enfield.
No, I'm based in Dunstable now, actually, but I work across the country. I work wherever the need is.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing. So one of the questions that this is a parent show, and I think as parents of teenagers, I don't know if you've got any children.
Uh, uh, Nearly 1 year old, so no teenagers, but I've worked with young people for my whole life, and
Yeah.
also I am the oldest of 45 grand and great grandkids.
Oh,
So
amazing.
there are loads of us.
Anvil. Yeah, but even so, I think that I don't know what you think about this, Nalini, that we can be a little bit in our bubble and maybe not really fully aware of the issues that young people and children are saying. I feel like Nalini's frozen because she's just got the same fixed expression on, but that's okay. It's a good expression. Yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of parents who might not fully kind of get to understand the issues that young people are facing.
Yeah.
What would you say they are? And also, I think that even if you're a parent who has a child who's facing particular issues, you might think that you're the only one
Yeah,
and not realize that this is a real common problem.
most definitely.
So what,
Yeah.
from your experience of what you've seen, what would you say are the issues?
I think that the world that we live in today is way different. I mean, you've probably heard this a million times, but it's factual, so this is why I repeat it. The world we live in now is completely different to the world that we were living in 10 years ago, 20 years ago, so on and so forth. Hi, you're back. Yeah, so it's completely different to the world that we were living in. And so our experience of being a young person in a world just does not track with what the young people today are going through. Some of those things might be related to similar things, so it might be related to crime. If you're in America, it's going to be localized, it's going to be gun crime. If you're in London, Edmonton, it's going to be knife crime. You know, it doesn't matter what it is, but there's going to be a level of I don't feel safe in my environment. So that's one of the things that definitely faces our young people, no matter where they're from. It just, the format that it takes is what
Mm,
changes. I think also there's a lot of acknowledgement of mental health now. So instead of in the past, especially if you come from a kind of underserved community or a diverse community. So if you come from a family like mine where we're black and originally from Jamaica, it's going to be, you'll be fine. There's a lot of dismissal kind of going on. But actually, in the world we live in now, which, we've still got so much work to do, there's a lot of mental health that is allowed to be acknowledged, and therefore young people can go, I feel different, I don't feel the same as this, or actually, what is this thing I'm feeling? One of the barriers young people face is actually, though, the generation above them or their parents or so on and so forth, really understanding what that means and how to approach it with them. And then I would say, so we've touched on mental health, we've touched on the physical kind of feeling safe in your environment. And I think just because this list could go on, but I think one of the big ones for me is about opportunity. I think they don't really know what is open to them. They see the easy things like, okay, I'm going to make a YouTube channel, I'm going to become David Dobrik. And they don't really understand that, yeah, you can do that, but it may not last the same way that he was huge, the same way he's disappeared in 2022, because it just takes one thing to be cancelled or so on and so forth. And so they're not necessarily learning the same skills that you might need to be transferable, and so they get into a job and then they don't like that job and then they move on to something else, and they're really confused about what it is they want in life. Part of that is because they're allowed to be, right? Again, we weren't allowed to be. You leave school, you go to college, you do a thing, and then that's what you do. Whereas now you don't have to make up your mind before you go to uni. You can go to uni, like, try it out, see what you think. And I think that choice can be really weighty for young people as well. So sorry, there were three big things, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Mm.
Nalini, have you got anything to add? What do you think are the challenges? What would you, anything to add to that list?
I think media plays a part in it.
Mm.
I don't know if they added that. I think also going on what Shae said, they have a lot of choice. Is we grew up at a time when we didn't have a choice. We were kind of, this is what you're doing, this is what you have to do, this is how it's going to happen. Whereas I think now with the gentler approach to parenting, we allow them to get away with a lot more than what we were able to.
There's a lot more freedom and permission, isn't there?
Yeah.
I don't think we had, I don't think growing up there was as much permission to do. You kind of, there was a lot of restrictions, and
Yeah.
we didn't have as much exposure.
Yeah. Yeah. The exposure is huge though, because it's on so many different levels. And, we talk about social media, but there is the different types of peer pressure at school and the different sets that you now can be in, and you start in year 7 in one pathway, and that's a pathway the school leave you on because that's what's easier for them. There's no kind of opportunity for them to grow, get better, change, grow out of their life circumstance and be a different person. They're labeled way earlier, I think, as well than we were, because they're allowed to be called ADHD now. And so therefore we put that, ADHD, it's fine, that's what it is. And then we forget about them. And that's, all of it needs balance, because as much as they have more choice and they have more freedom, that should be within limits. Too much choice and too much freedom can drive someone crazy. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even as adults, when we have too much choice, too much freedom, we kind of lose track.
Nalini, if I tell you how indecisive I am, you would die. Just, yeah, don't give me choice. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. You're right, because they do get labeled very quickly. I mean, Kemi, how many schools have we walked into, and how quick are those teachers to turn around and label those kids that we work with?
Yeah, there is. I think it makes it easier, isn't it, to put a label and define a young person, because it kind of gives you. Oh gosh, I think I just put a comment in. What issues do you think young people are changing? No, that's not what I meant. Facing. This is this is what comes with multitasking. No, that's still
Yeah.
not working. Facing. Um. Right. Let's see if I can make sense of what I'm trying to say. Uh, yeah, I think schools do. They do put young people kind of. They do tend to categorize I don't know if the word is label, but just because it makes it easier to know what you're managing in that, if we can say that we're dealing with low attainment, we know that that's what we're dealing with. If we know that we're dealing with challenging behaviour, we know that that's what, and if we know we're dealing with absenteeism, you know, they're 21% attendance level, that's what we're dealing with. So I think that it makes it easier for schools to do that. But I think it has to be, like you said, they're not always going to be in that situation. And it has to be a constant reassessment of, has their behaviour changed? Have their grades improved? What's their attendance level looking like now? Rather than thinking this person starts off with this problem in term one and it will always be this problem student, so to speak. Like my niece, fortunately I've got many, so they won't know which one I'm talking about. um, One of them was like at school. I don't think she was ever. I think she was challenging in the way that she probably would be very outspoken and and maybe teachers might have found it a little bit annoying. Just can you be quiet? Why do you have to keep asking so many questions? And da, da, da. And maybe her questions were a little bit like, I don't think you're very bright kind of questions that should make to the teachers, which I can understand why that would be annoying as a teacher. And then during COVID, something happened and she completely adopted this different style of learning, like studying, and became quite like just really, really studious. But she went from probably mediocre in terms of mid-range. I don't know what the word is. Excuse my phrase. It's like if she is listening, she'll be like, What do you mean mediocre?" But I think she went. Her grades were like maybe middle of the range to just being top class in everything. And it was, she said, to the point where the teachers thought she was cheating. It's like, how on earth could you have made this transformation? You can't really be doing all this work.
Mm.
And I think that's a bit where you find that labeling children is a problem, because there's not this acceptance that children can change, young people can change.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Without
Yeah.
intervention as well. Some people can do it without, on their own, like on their own volition. Something can just switch for them and they just decide, no, I'm not going
Mm.
to be that child, that person anymore.
Mm.
And in fact, that's the way it's meant to happen. If you look at the child development books and all of those kind of things, you get to, they tell you about your early years development and blah, blah, blah. And then you get to 7, and then your intelligence is meant to slightly plateau unless you put a real effort in and your parents really put the thing behind you. And then you start at year 11 in school, and then year 7 in school, and it's meant to be this thing. And then by the time you're 15, boys and girls have, they sit on different places in the leagues and the intelligence and blah blah. All of this is in books, right? And whether or not it's accurate is something else, but that's what they tell you is meant to happen. And they say don't be too hard on your 17-year-olds, because when you're calling them, their brain hasn't actually fully formed yet. And so it's not that they're being lazy, they cut, their brains haven't fully functioned yet. And again, it's all about balance, because two things can be true at the same time. That is probably true, but also the other side is that there are some people who are going to be who they're going to be. But the problem is, like you say, that story about your niece is really sad, because that is probably the moment she needed to feel that sense of achievement, and she needed it to be recognized by all the people around her, and instead she was doubted. And if she had chosen in that moment to go back and be like, what's the point, we could understand that, right? Because we don't give enough people the benefit of the doubt for making positive change, or
Yeah.
for recognizing that they're even capable. And that's scary and sad. And especially if you see children who've been in the system. So I used to be a foster carer, and I had a 13 going on 30-year-old come and stay with me at some point. And, you know, she wouldn't go to school. She was nearly at the end of the pathway, like they didn't know what else to do with her. They sent her to me. I convinced her after, you know, maybe a month or two, let's just go down to the local school. Let's, you know, see what they say. Through building that relationship, we were able to go down to the local school. And from the minute we got in there, I knew that this was not going to be a thing that worked. Not because of her, but because their attitude of the people behind the reception desk and everyone that we met throughout, they were just negative. Oh, she's looked after. Oh, all of this was just, it made her want to walk straight out the door. If I had not been next to her the whole time and been like, we can do this, we can do this. We went in, she had to do some kind of was it literacy test or something like that, where she sat around a table with other people. She wanted me to stay, but not to tell her the answers because of confidence and those kind of things. And they were like, no, if you don't do it, you need to, if she stays, then you both leave, kind of thing. And there was no accounting for the fact that this was a pivotal point in that young person's life. If she felt welcome, if she felt that she could go in and be vulnerable, so not know all the answers to the test, whereas the others around the table were late starting for a different reason. She may well have gone in, she was really bright, she may well have gone in and done something different, but as it happens, her story goes in a completely different direction, the direction you would assume it would go in, because she was labeled, judged, not given the time that she really was entitled to. And that's just sad. Yeah.
And I think there's something in raising up young people not to accept. Know that they're being labelled, but don't accept it. So I was labelled in class. You wouldn't believe this, Nalini, but we have these little funny things. But I got in at the bottom set for everything, like all my classes. She's like, yeah, you won't believe this. They put me on bottom set for everything. And I was like, and I'll tell you the honest truth, there was a part where I kind of thought, well, if that's where they think I'm supposed to be, that's where I'm supposed to be. I'll accept it. And it then happened that when I was in the class, they were saying, oh, you need to lead. Can you lead these groups? Can you read out your work? Can you? So I was thinking, okay, there's a pattern here, but the work is really easy. And now they're seeing at my level and they're asking me to lead groups and read out my work. So clearly, I'm not supposed to be in bottom set. So it's me to go home and say to like my family, I don't know if you know this, but they've put me in bottom set for everything. And like, you know, I would have accepted it. And literally that was the way that I was thinking. I would have accepted it. But the thing that's telling me that I'm not supposed to be in bottom set is the fact that I'm reading out all my work. They're making me lead the groups and da 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 da. So my brother was like, okay, we'll go down to the school and advocate for you. We'll basically find out what's going on. Now, how many children stop at, put me in bottom set, they've streamlined this, I guess they know what they're doing. I accept it.
Yeah. Or actually, they don't even know what they're doing, but I have no power here.
Yes.
I have no choice. It is what it is.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I
Yeah.
had other friends just, you know, constantly getting into trouble at school because he chats a lot. But I had to sit down and have a chat with him a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it feels like it's on a weekly basis at the moment, saying that just be careful because once you get labeled, it gets stuck. You know, and and I think children don't understand the power that teachers have or adults around them have. And it's so easy to put somebody in a box and make sure they stay in that box, regardless of what you do or how hard you try.
Yeah. One of the
Yeah.
things I do in my work is I deliver EDI training, so equity, diversity, and inclusion training, and in it, I make sure that people understand that labels are important, right? So if you're not getting, if you have a neurodiversity condition and you're not getting what you need, by someone saying that person is neurodiverse, that's, you know, that label, that description, you may end up getting what you need. You may be put in the right box to get what you need. But also labels have that really negative side to them where, you know, people just make that assumption and that's it. They do it. Assumptions, though, and again, all of us have heard this a million times, assumptions have their purpose because that's how we stay safe. When we go outside, if somebody's walking in a weird way, we make that judgment in that moment. But those assumptions that we make, there are very few of us in the world who are willing to reassess the judgment we made first when we met someone. So if I'd met Nalini at the event and been like, oh, she's a bit odd, I'm unlikely to think, you know, the next three events I met her at, that she's any different. Because I, but I mean, I don't know, but to think she's any different because yeah, well, because why do I need to think she's different? Nobody's challenging me to think she's different. She doesn't matter in my, and I don't matter in her day to day. So actually now I've gone through and, you know, a year's time our companies end up working in the same project or something, and then it goes, oh, do you know this person? And I'm like, and it just, and I'm not saying that every situation is going to end up like that, but from that one assumption that you can make from a moment of meeting someone or a moment of um being privy to a thing they're going through. And that's what happens with young people, because it's much less that we meet on even ground. We tend to be privy to something they're going through or something they're doing or something they're experiencing. And we make that judgment based on that one interaction. And it's sad. It's so unfair. I've said it's sad about 25 times in this. But actually what we're talking about is sad because of the way that it impacts the whole kind of sphere of young people and what they have to face.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's so. What's Chris said? I can't see. Can you see,
Chris, well,
Nalini?
Chris, Chris went, said, commented on your niece and said, well done to her. I had a lad last week at school who managed to turn it around at 15. Not easy to do, not easy to do so, and even know how, but respect, great character, he said. If teachers had been there when I showed glimpses of talent, I could possibly had turned that leaf. They need to make as big deal of successes, however small, as they do with negative behavior. And I totally
Yeah.
agree with that, because we are so quick to latch on to someone's poor behavior that when it comes to the good stuff,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
over.
But
It's,
don't we do that with ourselves though? We kind of we spend so much time in the, oh my goodness, why did I do that? Why did I say that? This is awful. And then when it's the good stuff, I'm like, yes, okay, move on. I ain't got time. You know, if we're doing it with ourselves, how can we be expected to give grace to people we know on a, you know, very basic level?
yeah,
Yeah,
It's we have to model something different.
and
yeah,
yeah. Sorry, Nalini.
no,
What was you going to say?
go.
I think there's part of it that's cultural.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think culturally, the British culture, we don't like big ourselves up enough. We don't. I said to my friend and my brother just earlier on today, I said, I'm a good person. He goes, yeah, you know, that can come across a bit like arrogant. Huh? Who doesn't? How's that arrogant? I'm a good person. Like, which part of it? And I was literally like, well, do you know what? If you're not a good person, I don't want to be around you.
Yeah.
That's my. So I'm a good person, and I want to surround myself with good people.
Yeah.
And just how on earth could we say that it's arrogant to label yourself or see yourself and say that you are a good person?
Yeah.
Or am I supposed? Sometimes I'm a good person, or I try to be a good person.
Or you're a good person who makes poor choices
Oh
sometimes, let's say. Like, do
yeah,
you know what I mean?
well,
Like,
why? Why can't we just be good people?
yeah.
I I think good. The label "good" is overrated.
Oh,
You know, personal experience. So for me, it's a very touchy word. Good.
It's a very what
It's a
word?
very touchy word. You know,
Touchy. Oh,
I've
so it could offend.
triggering, yeah.
Oh,
seen
triggering. Oh,
people with the really poor character. You know, so I'm not about the good. I'm about the decent human. I
oh
think
my,
if you're
would you go
decent,
for decent?
yeah,
Why does decent not sound like it's? Why does decent sound like it's a peg below good?
because good's overrated. Good's like perfect.
What's wrong with being
Good.
perfect? Well,
That
it's good.
hold on.
So let
Perfect.
me.
It's good. Perfect. And what is wrong? So what we're saying that no one is perfect.
So this is hilarious. My best friend and her friend, who we're now all friends together, but she and her friend used to always call me Little Miss Perfect. And initially, this is like, 15 years ago, it would drive me insane. I would hate it because I was just trying to do good in the world. I was trying to be good, do good,
Very good.
have good, right. And so my attempt at doing unto others as I'd have them do unto me had people making fun of me.
Mm,
And it was maybe 5 years later or so. So they've been doing it for the last 10 years now without it bothering me. But I was like, actually, I'm no longer going to be ashamed of trying to do the right thing. And once I was able to have that conversation with them and be like, you guys, this actually hurts my feelings. Like, I'm not even joking with you anymore. They were able to say, no, you don't understand where it's coming from. We're saying it because you are what your attitude to life is what we're trying to aspire to. And so as much as we're busting joke about it or whatever, if something happens, we might be more saying, what would Shae do? Rather
mm,
than, because the world is so, look, Shae, we're going to do the bad thing. We know it and we love it and we accept ourselves for who we are.
mm,
But actually, that Little Miss Perfect label, I had to stop seeing it as a negative thing, not because I am Little Miss Perfect, but because what I'm striving to do is to be decent and to
mm,
kind of have people think that of me. And to your point, Kemi, before, it's so funny that you were talking about yourself. I'm a good person. I tell people I'm brilliant all the time now. I spent most of my life with insecurity, not really knowing what I was capable of. In school, I was a terrible student, but there were two teachers who saw me. One put me in the lead in every single school play when I was in like junior school or whatever. Even though I'm actually an introvert. One just kind of fought my corner quietly. So didn't allow me to be in bottom sets, but would write my report and be like, she daydreams. It's because I wasn't a good student, but when I got older, I learned that I love to learn. And so that was different. So I do what I do with creatives and the business I do because I understand that we are not what people told us we are. And
mm,
just because I wasn't a good student didn't make me someone who couldn't hold all this knowledge within me and didn't like to know new things and that kind of thing. And I think it's really important. I guess why I focus on entrepreneurs and creatives is because that's how I label myself, because that those two categories of people in particular seem to have the least of the confidence to be able to say, no, I'm
yeah,
brilliant. And actually I'll tell you why.
yeah,
I'll tell you why I'm brilliant, and that's okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
If we were to ask ourselves, like, is there one thing that we're perfect at? Because we said we're not saying we're not using the word good.
So you use the word perfect.
I find it easy to say
But-
we're good at, but
okay. Can we?
let's raise the bar. One thing that we are perfect at. How how easy is that for you, Nalini?
No, that's pretty hard because, okay, so perfect to me is a matter of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a matter of perspective because you're perfect. Shay's perfect. My perfect. Chris is perfect. Tom, Dick, and Harry's perfect. It's different,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
but one thing that we can say about ourselves that we are perfect
Or
at.
or maybe if we change the word perfect for brilliant at.
Yeah, because you're more comfortable with the word
Yeah,
brilliant.
no,
I'm
I
comfortable
am.
with
But
the word
that's
good.
but see, but
The
that's
word
because But that's because we understand the way the world views those things.
Mm.
So brilliant, I actually don't care how the world views it. It means the way you view it and the way I view it is probably the same. Perfect, again, matter of perspective. And your perfect might be like, oh no, that's good enough. And it's perfect for me. And perfect for me and perfect for you are going to be two different things. But I think being able to say you're brilliant at something, so being able to say you're perfect at something puts you in competition with the next thing or person that's perfect. Being able to say you're brilliant puts you only in competition with yourself or the heights that you're kind of striving to reach. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Interesting.
But
So then, what does good do? Does good put us in competition?
I think that is good is the standard. So generally everyone's going to assume that everyone's trying to be good. If you are below good, your boss is going to notice at work. If you are anything below good is like mediocre or whatever, you are not going to be able to just coast and do what you want. Good
Mm,
is typically the standard. And when you get into the work that we do and work with people who need to understand that there is more to life than they keep being labeled and told,
mm,
you understand that good isn't enough.
mm,
And so we're striving for the brilliance and the perfection and the again perfection as it pertains to what your capacity is,
mm,
and all of those things, and the enlightenment and the creativity, because I believe that every single person is creative, they just don't know it yet. And so that's why they need to come on my courses, because I'll be like, well, actually, when your boss, you might be an accountant, but when your boss is like, "Ah, I can't figure this out," and you have to circumnavigate a problem,
mm.
you're being creative with it, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think good is kind of the standard. And it's what we subconsciously, I believe, think everyone should be.
Mm.
mm.
Um, and that's dead boring. So I want to be brilliant.
Yes,
Yeah.
because,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
I'm
and Kemi, you're far from
I
good.
think I'm going to say I'm far from perfect.
I think you should go brilliant.
I actually, yeah, I want to know what you both think you're brilliant at. Where, if somebody was to ask you, what were your top three things to describe your brilliance, what would they
Oh,
be? Okay, me, we'll
what
start with you.
one? You're giving us
Yeah,
we
no,
need to
because
break.
I actually think it's easier. The one, what your mind does, it goes, oh, which one should I choose? But if I give you three, you'll be like, oh, I can only come up with two, but at least you've got them. Yeah,
Okay, who's going first?
Kemi.
Right, I think I am a I think I'm a brilliant and I'm brilliant at problem solving. I'm brilliant at collaborating.
Mm.
So I bring people together. And I'm brilliant at um, seeing different perspectives. Actually, I want to I want to be brilliant at something like cake making or these are all like thingy things. I want something like I'm brilliant at something that
What?
like a doing brilliant, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, hold on. But in the line of work that we do, what you said are key points, key factors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like it.
Yeah,
Happy with it. I'm happy.
right.
I'm brilliant.
I, I had my mum.
I'm gonna find a hobby to be
Yes,
brilliant at.
I was just
That's
gonna say, if there's another brilliant you now want, you've identified, then go and do that. Now you know. Yeah.
Actually, Shae, Kemi did a portrait last week.
oh,
Uh,
picture.
because we're doing the arts award. The gifted are doing the arts award, and Kemi was trying something out, and I fell in love with it. I was like, wow, this is really impressive.
Isn't that something that someone else can see a brilliance in you that maybe you don't even see in yourself? And again, we're talking about this, we're doing all of this because we're talking about modeling a certain confidence and
Mm.
behavior that young people can then go, oh, it's okay for me to be like, oh, you're giving me a label, I also have a label for me.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
label is brilliant. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that kind of almost um dilutes the negativity that the other label can give them. Oh, I've got autism. My autism makes me brilliant. Did you know that? Have you seen that show where, do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And it starts to get them to, it allows them to reframe the label.
Mm.
Yeah.
So Nalini, you haven't gotten away with it. What are your three?
Brilliant. Not we're not decent.
Not mediocre.
If I was to put my mum hat on, my kids would tell you that I bake really well.
Pretty well.
Are you?
Sorry, I should just be quiet. Sorry, nobody interjected when I did mine, so I'm just going to be quiet.
So should I use the word brilliant? Should I? No, I don't. I don't feel comfortable using that. I feel comfortable. Uh, yeah, I yeah. I think for me, I love art. I'm a hands-on kind of person. I think I'm very good with making things. Um, yeah, in terms of if I was to look at it from a work perspective, I think I think energy is the word that's come up for me recently, Cami.
Yeah, more energy, more passion.
So um yeah, so I you know, but when it comes to work, and I think I love what I do. I love what we do, working with young people and um working with parents. It I don't know, kind of lights my soul on fire.
Yeah, I love
I,
that.
I'd like to think I'm really good at that.
You know what that will do, because that is your truth, and I love that for you. But I just want to point out, not being negative Nelly over here, I just want to point out your first two were things you said other people said about you, but it's fine, we go with it. But no, you know, honestly, it's, isn't it interesting to do that skills audit of yourself?
Mm,
And I think that parents, once they're able to do that for themselves, because again, once you become a parent, there is, and when I say parent, I say parent intentionally, because aunties can have parent roles and godparents and all of these kind of things. Once you become that, you feed into the young person differently. You forget that, you know, you're able to say things about yourself that they will then hear and go, ah, you did that? No, you didn't. No way. And I think it's important that we remember that when we are remembering who we are,
mm,
because we're still struggling. Listen, I don't, every day I don't know who I am. You know, today I am exactly who I'm choosing to be and what I've worked to be. Tomorrow though, I may be a bit shaky and be like, am I really, have I done all that work? Am I really there? And that's what the young people are going through. So
yeah.
if we can say, yeah, it's okay to be that, it's okay to not know. And when you are challenged to have an answer, it's okay to say, well, these are the three things that I think about, or that I think, or that someone has told me I'm good at. It's okay to go with those as well until you figure it out,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
But
So, what about you? What are your three brilliants?
oh,
I think that I am a brilliant creator. And when I say that, that is such a broad term, but in all the things. So I try my hand at things. Um, and in the moment that I'm good at them, I'm good at them. And what I mean by that is, I did photography a few years ago. I just suddenly had an eye for it, did it. If I try to do it again today, I can't. So for the moment, for that period of time that I'm really interested in it, I'm like, I know what would be good. Like people were paying me to like take pictures at weddings and stuff. Never
Mm.
took a photography class in my life. Got a really good camera in Black Friday, and that was that. I was like, the camera's doing most of the work. So I'm a really good creator in terms of that. I'm a really good trainer. So I can, it's similar to something you said, Kemi. I can help people to see perspectives that they may not otherwise see. So I use storytelling to do that. And I coined a phrase called story protection, and that is protecting the integrity of everything that somebody tells you. So it's more than just hearing a story and going, wow, oh my goodness, wow, and you go off and tell the story again. It's going, hold on, what has that person told me? What is it doing to them to have told me? And what am I going to do with that? What is my responsibility with that? So I'm good at getting people to really take responsibility, to take accountability, to be present in the moment, whatever that moment is. And then I'm brilliant, I would say, at loving people, loving my friends, my family. If you're in the gate, you're in the gate. So I love deeply and I care deeply. And in fact, it's something I've had to learn to um, wheel back, because, you know, in the past, my boundaries have been stepped over, and it's like, no, my love isn't unconditional in that way. It's only for my baby that's unconditional. So, you know, there is that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm brilliant at loving you the way you need to be loved.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
I all of that. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
How you expand on those brilliances as well. So you don't just stop at it, but you can actually expand in it, reference it, and explain like the context in which you are saying that you're brilliant.
Mm.
Yeah, because I've spent a lot of time thinking about not being brilliant.
Mm,
And that's
Mm.
why I'm now comfortable in it. I don't care. You could put me next to Trump and he'll tell you he's brilliant. And I'll be like, oh, me too. Girl,
yeah.
me too. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not
Mm,
threatened by your brilliance, and I'm not threatened by your perception of whether I'm brilliant or not. I've done the work and I'm here now. And I've spent time in that dark place. Like, I don't know if you realize, I wrote a book called Sunny Days. And Sunny Days is about allowing yourself permission to pull your socks up when it's the right time for you. I went through a
mm,
cancer experience, and so many people were like, but you didn't lose your hair, or oh my goodness, you're still sick, or, you know, all of these things. I still have pain from that now, but your
mm,
perception of when I should have been better is different. And so I was like, no, people need permission to do it when it's right for them. And so I wrote that book, kind of thing. Yeah, it's I've sat in dark rooms a lot.
mm,
I'm not sitting in them anymore. I have no interest.
yeah. And I think that's a good key message to send to young people is that this situation that you're in right now, this feeling, this emotion, it's temporary. And
Mm.
you don't have to stay there.
Yeah.
And I heard from these young people a few weeks ago, and they were saying that one of the things that really gets to them in the school environment, even going back to what we were saying about labeling, is that even when they are labeled or when they are put in this box, so to speak, the, there's not been any exploration into what is the context, what's going on for me at home, what's my home life like, why do you think I'm behaving this way, because there's a backstory.
Yeah.
And I think it's also I like and I think we realized this the other day, isn't it, Nalini, when we was working with a group of girls, and it was giving them I said I taught I coined it as I said most of them didn't know what advocate meant, but I coined it as advocating for themselves, that they had permission to share their backstory
Yeah.
Mm.
and you know and express that context as well, because
Yeah.
we don't know what we don't know,
No.
Mm.
and not
I do
everybody
think
knows to ask the question.
no, and I think that there is a danger, and it comes back to something Chris was saying, I think, earlier, and maybe something we touched on at the beginning of the show. I was going to call it an episode. I don't know what we're on. The beginning of the live, there you go, is that people, especially people in places of authority, so teachers and so on and so forth, something's going on for you. Tell me what's going on. They feel that they have an entitlement to your story.
Mm,
Whereas if you're going through something really dark or deep, or even if it's just hormonal changes, you might not even know how to verbalize that. You might not even know what's going on. And if I can't verbalize it, and if I can't tell you how that you can help me, then I'm worthless.
yeah.
Then it doesn't matter, because I can't help you because you're not allowing me to help you. And
Mm,
then the cycle begins yet again. So it's even more than giving them permission. You give them permission when they're at the stage that they are to engage with our organizations.
mm,
But before that, there's something that goes, what would make you feel safe to be able to even explore that for yourself, and then to explore it in an environment that is
Yeah.
safe, again in your terms, because what's safe for you might not be safe for me.
Yeah.
So I can be like, yeah, so we've got this room and then there's loads of food, and what makes young people feel safe, and we forget that they're not monoliths. And the introvert over there might be like, this is perfect, I can sit in the corner. The extrovert might be like, everyone else in this room is also loud, where do I fit in? You know, because again, that's the label. We go, introverts are quiet, they're the ones we need to look out for. But actually, if you're in a room full of people and you single out the introvert and go, what's your opinion? You've just made them sink more into
Yeah.
themselves, because there are different ways to approach people
Mm,
and to be present.
yeah.
So yeah.
And
I think there's a lack of understanding when it comes to teaching these days. I think teachers don't have. It's almost like I'm doing the job because I get paid for it. The passion's gone. You know, before, when when I think back to being in primary school, like there was one particular teacher or a couple of teachers that stood out for me, and I'm like, wow, they were amazing. Like, they were amazing human beings, and they were, if I was ever a teacher, they're the ones that I'd want to be like, right? I
mm,
think that children have that anymore.
I think the
there's
system stops them as well, because I've got a couple of friends who are teachers and they have the passion, they don't have the permission to do it for their young people. So
yeah.
you're absolutely right. The young people don't have it because the system stops the teachers who are willing from doing it, whether it's because of budgets or
Mm.
whatever. But yeah, it's not there anymore.
Mm.
Okay, you said
Kemi,
it in a much nicer way than like I was say it. I was literally getting ready to say, no, Nalini, I disagree. I don't think you can say that teachers don't have passion. He was like a lot nicer about it.
It's just,
but
yeah.
this is yeah, but Kemi, I think we've established that I kind of don't beat around the bush, and you like to sugarcoat things. I mean, I think we've established that after
Oh,
many months.
am I the third musketeer then, who kind of is in the middle?
Yeah, we need a bit of balance because otherwise, I could say, how can you say that?
Yeah, we have this conversation even at work. You're like, did you just say that? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm fine. Like, can we just get on with it, please?
I love that. I love that.
Exactly. I'm here already here thinking about all the teachers that follow us on Instagram and like, yeah, you know what, guys? Not you guys. We believe you've got passion. We love what you do. We respect your work. But even on the other day, we was in a school and we thought this school is really challenging. The energy in the school was like, you get in there and it's like, ooh. And I over the weekend I thought about it and I thought the teachers that work there have to be passionate. They have to love what they're doing. And you get some teachers that, unless the school requires improvement, I don't want to work there.
Yeah.
So as soon as the school is like good or outstanding, they're moving on to another school that requires improvement because that's where they feel that they can make a difference. And in the corridor, I just heard this boy say to like a student say, oh sir, I'm in your class next term. I've got you next term. Goes, brilliant. I love you, sir. And I thought, come on. As much as the school was like, ugh, when you walked in, hearing that was like, wow, that child is having a real positive experience in school and has found, and sometimes we only need one teacher that we
Mm.
Yeah.
connect with, that we know that teacher gets me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it just takes one,
Mm.
but it
Mm.
also to destroy everything too.
Yes. Yeah. We're realist on this line.
And I have my reasons right now. Okay. Yeah. Okay, but but jokes aside, uh, it is hard work. It is hard work, and I think working with young people, children these days, with all the influences of social media, but also all the pressures of home life, it's not easy. Right? I don't think I'd be a youth of this day and age.
Yeah, if I
Yeah.
was the same young person I was at 15 now, I would be, my anxiety would be through the roof. I would, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And the work that I think, even as not even just as parents and families, teachers, the work that we do is, and I don't know whether I'm saying the things that I'm saying because of the work that we do, or if this is something that most parents would see. But it's like constantly, okay, I have to put context in it. Another one of my nieces was talking about rolling up her skirt, for her school uniform. And I was like, well, why do you do this? So, because if I don't, the girls that don't roll up their skirts get bullied. And having to talk her through this whole process of saying, okay, so when they're bullied, do they then roll up their skirts? No, they don't. Yeah, they're a bit weird. So are you trying to say that girls with long skirts are weird? No, that's not what I said. So, okay, but they've been bullied, but they're not rolling up their skirts. No. Why do you think that is? She said, I just think they don't care. I said, did you hear what you just said?
Yeah.
Don't care. So you care not to get bullied, but who are you? What do you represent? Think about your own identity, yourself, and your strengths, the things that. And when you think about those things, does it matter whether your skirt's long or short?
Mm.
And I'm the auntie having that conversation.
Yeah.
Like in your family unit, there are different people that can have the conversation. And it's the irony of that evening was I'm having that conversation with my niece. Then my sister-in-law walks into the room and walks into the house and I'm like, can you go upstairs and talk to my daughter? She goes, what? She said, about what? I'm not going to give you any context. Just
Yeah.
talk. Just listen to her and see what she says. My daughter didn't talk to me the whole day. Just from having that conversation with her auntie, she comes down in the evening and says, hi, Mum, gives me a hug. And I think
Yeah.
we're realising that it takes a community.
Mm.
And it's okay to tap into your community.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
story so much.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm. So what do you think would be like each of us, if we can come up with one takeaway for those listening, one thing for them to, one gift, what would yours be, Nalini?
I think mine would be, as a parent, find your brilliance.
Oh, I love that.
Go find your brilliant and own it and be proud, because I
Yeah.
think that will take you a long way.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think mine would be give yourself grace, because you don't have to be perfect to parent. You don't have to be
Mm.
perfect to model that behavior. So give yourself grace. And like you, there are other options like auntie, please go and talk to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm.
Give yourself grace and room to find a different solution. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if we said this, but I think listening to our conversation, I think there's something about the gift of curiosity. Like just be like allowing ourselves and young people to be curious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Shae, thank you for the show.
No
That would be
problem.
great.
It's been so amazing. I'm now remembering that I did say to Nalini, I know lots of people who work with young people, and I'll kind of send the handles to you guys so you can get in touch and stuff. A couple who have been popping in and out, I think. But no, thank you so much for having me. This has been a great conversation, and I'm hoping that at some point in the next year or two, our organisations get to do something cool together.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be so fantastic. I'd
Yeah,
love that. That
that'd
would
be great.
be good.
Oh, thank you, Isha. See, there are people here.
And we are on YouTube, so we store these shows on YouTube if anyone wants to come and, like, if you've dipped in and out and you haven't watched the whole thing, you want to watch it in your own time, you can do so as well. So yeah, I hope you'll come back.
I will. I absolutely will. Stop me. Try and stop me. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see you around some of the other events.
100%. 100%. Oh, thank you so much and have a lovely evening.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you,
Oh,
Cammy.
I don't actually know how to leave. Oh, here
Yep.
we go.
Bye that as well.
Bye.
Bye.